Valentine. She's going to talk about her book, Extra Special Heart. Carli, thanks so much for being on the show.
Yeah,
It's
thanks
great
for
to have
having
you.
me. I'm
Yeah.
happy to be here.
If you're new to the show, the Coffee and Kidlit Show, this is a brand new show that I started last week, and it's basically where I'll be interviewing authors about their children's books and finding out what inspired them to write it and the whole journey that they went through. I'll be mostly looking at authors that have done books on disabilities as well as faith-based stories and things like that. So if that's the kind of stuff that interests you, I hope you'll follow along and hit subscribe. But we're going to jump right into this interview with Carli. Really special story that she has with her book, Extra Special Heart, which I have a copy of mine here,
Yay!
right? And really enjoyed it. It's Carli, it's one thing that I noticed is that it's not really, and we'll probably get into this later, but it's not a story. It's not like a typical story that has a beginning, middle, and end. It's almost like a love letter to your son, and I think that's what's kind of beautiful about it. But Carli, if you don't mind, could you just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit of your background?
Yeah, for sure. I'd be happy to. So, I am Carli Valentine, and I am an author and illustrator. I got started writing, and well, I've written things down for quite a bit of time, quite a long time, but I started publishing in October of last year and illustrating then too. And it's been a fun journey. Before I did that, I actually did hair and aesthetics. And when COVID got pretty bad, I ended up staying home and quitting that job because because of Finn. He was medically fragile and we didn't know how he would handle it. So we kind of wanted to keep him safer. I didn't want to be working with the public quite so much. And so I one night was putting my little boy, my younger son, Lachlan. I have two, Lachlan and Finn. And I was putting Lockie to bed and we are rocking, and we always read stories before bed. That's a big part of our bedtime routine. And when we were rocking at the end of our story, he started asking me what we were going to do tomorrow. And we always came up with like crazy ideas, like we're going to build a huge ice cream, or we're going to fly to the moon. It would always be like insane ideas. And so while I was rocking him, I just thought, you know what? Why don't I start making some stories? Like, I love to tell stories with my kids. I love to read stories with my kids. And so that's kind of how my whole writing journey began officially. I just decided that night, you know what? I'm going to publish some children's books. I'm going to do this. So I started researching, and my husband, he knew I would come up with excuses. So he was good enough to force me to get an iPad so I could start practicing illustrations and everything. And I just kind of dove into it. I watched a million YouTube videos that taught you how to publish books on Amazon and format everything. And it's been a fun journey ever since. So I've been married for a long time. I tried to think how long it's been today, and I'm like, I don't know. I think it's a really long time. I got married pretty young to my husband. So we've been married, I want to say I think this is 16 years, but he's so much better at me at remembering. Kind of terrible.
Yeah, that's kind of against the norm, I would say.
I know, huh? I one time gave him an anniversary gift with the wrong year put on it, and it was pretty bad. So
Yeah.
I have to have him to keep me straight because I'm kind of all over the place. But I have my two little boys that I mentioned. Finn is my heart warrior. He's who I wrote Extra Special Heart about. He's just turned 9. And then my youngest little boy is Lachlan, and we live in Utah. And I love, in my spare time, I do a lot in the Congenital Heart Defect community. And I've written numerous articles with different CHD magazines. I'm a part of a group called the Heart Community Collection, which is a great resource for people with CHDs or that have family members with congenital heart defects, where they just compile a bunch of really, really good books for people to enjoy that have CHDs. So I have just enjoyed being a part of the wonderful community. I really love volunteering my time with any groups with fragile medical type kids. And in my writing, I really love to explore the disability aspect because I feel like it's a very important thing to help kids mentally and to help build self-confidence and to just promote inclusion in general with all kids.
Yeah, I was just showing the list of your books on Amazon, and I'll be honest, I didn't know you had so many books out until I was preparing today for this interview. And you have quite a list here. So some of these other books also focus on disabilities as well.
So I'm working on a lot of various books that focus on disabilities. Some of them are emotional regulation, which I think can be a big component for kids with disabilities sometimes. So Cutest Pumpkin in the Patch, that one's a basic emotion type book to just help kids learn about emotions. And then I have, so that one basically, it just talks about all the different emotions with different pumpkin faces to kind of explain it in a fun way. Yeah. And then I have Bad Habit Rabbit. That's all about an Easter bunny who has a bad habit he has to get over to fulfill his dream of becoming the world's greatest Easter bunny. And so that one I did just because I feel like it's really important for kids to overcome difficult things in their life so that they can do what they want to do. And so a lot of my books kind of still focus on problem solving. And me and my son, Finn, have ADHD. So there's a lot of executive dysfunction type issues that happen. And so a lot of my books are little pieces of various executive dysfunction issues that people might encounter with their own children. Books have always been like a huge healing thing for Finn and me. I love journaling. I love to read. It's really relaxing when I feel overwhelmed or stressed. I always try to read to kind of settle myself down. And when Finn was going through quite a bit of his medical journey and he was having heart surgeries and numerous tests and procedures, I felt like books could really help prepare him in a positive way, but there weren't a lot out there. So I really wanted to try to make some really good ones for kids that are going through rough stuff to kind of help them through it in a fun way, more fun way than just having like a normal conversation with mom or dad. So, and then I do have my newest book is called The Fun Thieves. And that one's actually like a mental health, positive thinking type book. It just basically talks about various frustrations that can happen with kids, like your baseball game can get rained out, or you can get sick and your party gets canceled. And it's just to teach kids that sometimes frustrating situations can have actually something good that you can gain from them. So like when your baseball game got rained out, your baseball game got rained out and that's a huge bummer, but we also do need rain for flowers to grow, and it's fun to splash in the puddles, and it brings beautiful rainbows. So it's kind of just teaching kids to learn to look on the bright side, even if they're frustrated at the time. So a lot of my books just stem from different things that I've kind of had to help my kids through. And even as adults, we struggle with these types of things sometimes. So
yeah, absolutely. And I love the idea of kind of giving them a little bit of a way to understand positive thinking and kind of get over these negative thoughts that can go in. By the way, anyone that's watching, I do have links to her books or to her Amazon page in the description of this video, so you can go there and check them out on your own. So let's talk a bit about Extra Special Heart. Could you just sort of give us a summary of that book and
Yeah, sure. So kind of like you said, Extra Special Heart just started out with me just thinking about how I felt about Finn personally. And I kind of just wrote it down mostly just for us, just for me and him. Because I want him, he's kind of, kid, when you grow up, there's so many different stages kids go through. They start
Mhm.
out and they feel positive about everything, and then they kind of get thrown into the world and start to realize that they have some differences from other people, or that, why do I have to go to a doctor's appointment? Why doesn't my brother have a therapy appointment? So it was kind of like, after I had a conversation with him about being different, I thought, you know what? You might not know this, but you are so incredible and so special.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what Extra Special Heart is, how it came about. I just wanted to show that even though kids may have been born with a heart with physical imperfections, they have so much to offer the world. And I've met a lot of heart warriors in our journey, and I've met a lot of really amazing families as well. But I feel like, kind of like you started this whole conversation with on our live, I feel like these kids are so special and so unique, and
Yeah.
anybody who meets Finn is just drawn to him, and he's just a warrior. He just tackles whatever hurdle he has, and he faces it head on, and he just keeps getting up, even though he's bucked off a horse a million times. So that's
Right.
Extra Special Heart, is just talking about all the positives that come out of these children, and specifically Finn, and just trying to raise awareness and also harvest a good amount of pride for them. And I wanted heart warriors to feel proud of all that they've been through, and realize that they have a lot to offer the world, and they are truly extra special.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now you have mentioned congenital heart defect, and for anyone who's watching, if you are familiar with this, just drop a comment below and let us know that you're watching. And if you have any questions to ask Carli or myself, you can drop those in the comments as well, or in the live chat, and we'll be happy to bring those up here on the show. But could you explain a little bit more about what CHD is, and what that looks like for Finn?
Yeah, so CHD stands for Congenital Heart Defects, and it's very common. About 1 in every 100 children born in the U.S. has a congenital heart defect. So it happens a lot more than you think. Some people really don't know much about it until it hits someone close to them that they love. But I feel like all of us at some point have come in contact with children with congenital heart defects. And basically, when a child has a congenital heart defect, either the function or the structure of their heart isn't working right, or it wasn't made quite normally. And in Finn's case, his heart defect is rare. It's a little bit different than some, because his heart functions okay, but he has what is called a vascular ring. So he has a right aortic arch, aberrant left subclavian is like the medical terminology for it. And to explain it so that it's a little easier to understand, his heart was reversed, and the way that his part of his aorta comes off, it actually was wrapping around part of his trachea and his esophagus. So his heart defect the heart structure actually made it really difficult for him to breathe and eat and swallow normally. And so his heart defect affected a lot of other structures as well. And that's actually how he got diagnosed. He wasn't diagnosed with his heart defect till he was 18 months. And a lot of kids get diagnosed a lot sooner, but he was having trouble swallowing, and he sounded like he had croup constantly, and it was because of all the pressure his part of his aorta was putting on his esophagus and his trachea. So that's how he was diagnosed. But there's so many different heart defects, and they all present differently. So it's kind of a tricky thing sometimes, and when he was born, we didn't really, I kind of always felt like something was a little bit off. He had a lot of troubles eating and would projectile vomit, and as a new parent, and he was my first kiddo, everybody wants to kind of calm your nerves and tell you, oh, they're fine, everything's fine, don't stress about it, this is just, it's normal. But I kind of just felt like, I don't think so. I don't think this is, I remember sitting at Thanksgiving dinner with my husband and some of our family members, and he took a couple bites of food. It was actually the day before he got diagnosed, and he projectile vomited all over the Thanksgiving dinner table. So it's just like things like that. Like we almost every meal, almost every holiday have a picture of like somebody holding him, and then there's throw up while we're taking a picture or something. So that's his heart defect is a little off the wall. It's not quite the norm for most, but that's part of our journey. And it's what inspired me to write this book for sure.
And I understand that he's had some surgeries to try to correct things. Were they able to like flip the heart around, or what? What did that look like?
So we had our first surgeon operated locally in Utah, and he just did kind of a basic repair. They just clipped the ring, and that's pretty much it. But he was still having a lot of problems that weren't resolved with eating and breathing and swallowing, and I just knew something wasn't all the way, that his heart defect wasn't fixed. We did a lot of feeding therapy and just various doctor specialists. I mean, he saw aerodigestive teams, had numerous tests. And I finally found some guidance in a Facebook group online with kids with vascular rings. And they actually pinned a ton of medical journals for everybody to look over at the top of the group. And I literally think I read every medical journal available. Yeah. And one day when I was sitting in college, I was reading one of the medical journals, and I should have been studying, but I wasn't. I was worried about my child. So I was reading the medical journal, and I happened to come across a surgeon that had written numerous of these medical journals on vascular rings, my son's specific heart defect. And I emailed him and got a reply from the cardiothoracic surgeon within like an hour before my class was even out. And I was so shocked. And he has written a lot on doing an additional surgery for kids that have that specific defect. And so we just kind of followed his lead, and we ended up going to Chicago, where that surgeon did my son's second open heart surgery. So he's been through a lot of different medical trials and therapies, and he has beads of courage. I don't know if you've ever heard of beads of courage, but he has a beads of courage where kids get little beads for every test, every procedure, blood draws, like they try to show it, like, so they can be proud of, look at their beads on a big string and see all the crazy stuff that they've accomplished and been through. And his is I swear it's like a mile long, which is sad, but it's also like, you can get through anything, buddy. Look at all this stuff you've been through,
Right. Yeah. Well, that brings up something that you sort of mentioned earlier when you were kind of introducing the book, and that's the idea of two types of hearts. And so you have your physical heart, but then the book really kind of turns and focuses on this other heart, which really has nothing to do with the physical heart, but the heart of love and the heart of caring for others. And so talk to us a little bit about that, if you will, and how that kind of helped you to form this book. Of course, it started, I guess, with a conversation with Finn, but if you don't mind, just kind of share a little bit about that.
Yeah. So kids with CHDs, their heart is imperfect in some way, either with structure or function. But like you're talking about, the other heart, the heart of love, it's just amazing in these kids. Finn has such a unique, just sparkling personality. He just touches everybody he comes across. He wants to talk to everybody and be friends with everybody. And when we go to a park, he'll be bummed if we're the only ones there, because he just loves being around people. He's just a people person, and he just loves to make people laugh and smile. And he just is such a sweet, loving, kind, unique kid. And so I wanted that to really showcase in Extra Special Heart, because it's it's amazing how your heart can have a problem physically, but then be just absolutely incredibly beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I mean, parents, it's always a hard thing to swallow when your kid has something that they're diagnosed with. But then when you look at things a little different, you start to see how amazing your child is. And like, I feel like Finn has a huge purpose in life, and um, he just inspires people. People love to be around him.
Mm.
And I think that's a huge part of disabilities. We need to be able to find the beauty in what everybody that's different can bring. And I think for kids with heart defects, a lot of times it isn't the physical heart, it's the emotional idea of all the love that they bring. So
That's really great. Yeah. When I think about that, I think about my own daughter, Esther, who is the inspiration behind my book, Ada and the Helpers. She was born deaf, and she's a recipient of cochlear implants. So she's able to hear as long as she has these hearing devices on. But, I remember seeing people with these devices before Esther was even born, and not knowing what they were or what they were for. You tend to kind of distance yourself, right? That's kind of like the natural, at least for me, that was my natural response. But really, Esther has this beautiful personality, and I mean, she could be a comedian with the humor that she has. And I think, Finn is kind of the same way. He just really, this, like you said, outgoing personality, and just loves to be around other people. And I think, we need to stop assuming what someone is like just because they have an illness or a disability. So that's really great. So you mentioned that this book was sort of just for you and Finn, but when did it really occur to you, okay, this might be good to produce and publish for other parents and children as well?
Well, so it was a total passion project. I got it all written down, and I read it to Finn, and he loved it, because you could just tell he felt proud when I just read it to him. And I just thought, you know what, maybe I should share this. And I didn't know if I was going to do it, in the form of a blog or write an article. But then I just thought it would be really powerful to have kids see it with illustrations and read it with their families and share it with their siblings. And so that's kind of what just prompted me to publish it. And I thought, even if it doesn't reach very many people, and like 10 people buy it, or a couple of people get it for their kids, I felt like it was worth it to publish.
Right.
And when you're in the CHD community, there's a ton of different charities and nonprofits that are awesome at giving like what they call like bravery bags while you're like in the hospital, or at Ronald McDonald House, if you stay there while you're having treatment. A lot of times they give you various comfort items. And I just thought, maybe I should make that, and I can donate these books. I can give them to kids going through surgeries. And that's kind of what prompted me to do it. And I have been able to give a lot of these books to heart warriors that are going through surgeries at cost. I just, every once in a while, I'll post and say, hey, I'm collecting money. This is what my book costs to be printed and shipped. I'm not going to make anything off these. Who can help me kind of gather these funds? And it's amazing how many people step forward and are willing to donate books. And a lot of times it's heart families, CHD families, that their children's not going through anything terribly rough right at this moment, and they want to give to other families and kind of comfort them. So it's been a really nice comfort item, I feel like, for people as they're going through this crazy journey of a heart, as a heart parent or a heart warrior, or even just like sometimes it's a baby heart, a infant that's going through a surgery, but they need some way to kind of explain and make things a little bit more comfortable for the older sibling. And so that's kind of what prompted me to actually publish this.
So what would you say to another parent who just found out that their child has CHD or even vascular ring? How would you encourage them?
Well, I think, all of us as parents, before we have a child that's not born typical, we just pray for a healthy child. That's what I always, you hear people all the time. Do you want a boy or a girl? I don't care as long as they're healthy. And it's like, well, they might not be, because it happens sometimes.
Yeah.
And even if they're not, they are amazing. Like, don't get yourself so upset about it that you can't bond with your child, because even if they do have a physical imperfection, it's just amazing what they can bring us, in getting to know them as they grow, as they learn. I feel like these amazing kids can get through just about anything. And I think a huge part of being a CHD parent is you have to learn about your child, figure out as much as you can about their specific defect so that you can kind of help them along the way, look for signs and symptoms, find really good specialists and doctors. Don't just go to the first people that you see. You have to really do your research and find people that you feel like advocate for your kids and really have their best interest. And that's kind of what I ended up doing when we went to Chicago. I felt like at first I was just comforted by the fact that, well, these surgeons know more than me, but they don't always know more than you. They are just human beings. So a huge part of being a parent to a child with a CHD or a disability is just making sure that you're a good advocate for them, and you get them help early on with whatever struggles that they have, so they can work on things and constantly grow and improve, and that you have a good team of medical professionals that have their best interest at heart. That's probably the advice that I would give. And just that your child will be amazing, even if they aren't typical anatomically, or, just with any type of disability, you grow to love your child, and it will be amazing all that they can bring to your life and others around them too.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really good. And so before we have some questions that are more related to publishing, but I just want to do kind of a quick lightning round, if I may, with a few questions.
Sure.
But if anyone watching has any questions, go ahead and post them in the live chat, and we'll talk about those. And also, if this content has really been helpful for you, please hit the subscribe button. I'll be bringing all kinds of other authors on that are bringing awareness to different disabilities and illnesses. And so I'm just really grateful for Carli and the other authors that I have lined up for this show. But so Carli, first of all, this is the Coffee and Kidlit Show. So I have to ask, Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts?
Starbucks, I think.
Starbucks.
For sure.
Okay.
Yes. Well, that's what we have here. We don't have any Dunkin' Donuts, so Starbucks, I'm going to say.
I'll be honest, I've never even tried Dunkin' Donuts coffee. I don't even know what it tastes like. I am a Starbucks fan, although I prefer the local joints even better. So,
yeah.
Okay, so what was your favorite children's book as a child?
Well, it depends if you're talking like kids, like picture book or chapter book. I really liked, there was a book called Caps for Sale that I loved, that is about a monkey that steals a bunch of caps from a guy that has them stacked high on his head. That was like one of my favorites that I always think about with my kids. So that's my favorite picture book, I would say. And anything by Roald Dahl, I loved. I loved boxcar children books. We read a lot of Goosebumps. and I really liked Harry Potter. When I started to get older, Harry Potter was like my ultimate. Like I would go right when they were released and sit in my car and read as much as I could before I was so tired I'd just pass out.
Right.
So those are like probably my ultimate favorites, young to growing up, that I can remember.
Yeah. So sorry, let me turn off this banner. What was the last book that you read to Finn and Lachlan?
Oh, we read so many. I have them on my Kindle. I always get them when indie authors have their free ones.
Yeah.
So actually, it was Clay's This I Know, because I just bought his bundle that he was offering of, my goodness, no, I can't, I'm gonna have a brain fart, but the one with the tree, the locust tree, and then This I Know.
Me, G, and the Locust Tree, I believe.
Yes, I couldn't think of the title. So I think it was This I Know. I read that yesterday because we literally just got it in the mail. So, and that's a beautiful book. I am just like, I look at his cover and all his gold foil and all, it's just, it's a gorgeous book. I won't let my kids take it. They love it, fine.
That's a special book. It stays on my shelf.
I'll read it to you, yes. But because my kids hate the dust jackets, they always take them off and lose them. And I love them. And so I'm like, nope, you can read it, but only under supervision.
Right. Well, shout out to Clay Anderson. That's the one that she's talking about. If anyone's interested, Clay Anderson has a couple of books out. He has a new one coming out. All is Bright, I believe is the name of it. A new Christmas book, and so that's on pre-order on his website. Really,
I got that one too.
I did too. It will be on the way once it hasn't printed. Really creative guy, and really some special books. Okay, so let's get back into the publishing journey for you. You not only wrote your books, but you illustrated them. Tell us why you decided to do that, and sort of walk us through your process for that.
Okay. Well, since I used to do hair, doing hair was like my creative outlet. I am a very, as my husband knows me very well, I'm very disorganized, very chaotic, but I love art. I love being creative. And so I mean, writing has that creativity aspect too, but I really just kind of like sometimes to just do something and not really think about it, and just kind of let go of myself. And it's a good relaxation type thing for me. And so I just thought, you know what, maybe I'll just illustrate too, because sometimes it's hard when you're self-publishing. There's so many barriers to keep you from doing it. And that's why my husband bought me an iPad, because he's like, no more excuses. Like, if you want to do it, just do it. Like, quit having excuses for why you can't, because the whole publishing process can be just, it's just hard to navigate in the beginning and to figure out. And it's easy to just write something down and have really good ideas and then just not follow through with it. And so as soon as I got my iPad, I didn't have excuses anymore, and I could do whatever, and I could teach myself and learn and draw. And I've been using Procreate is the app I use to illustrate my books. And I watch a ton of tutorials, a ton of YouTube videos. I feel like I'm definitely not a professional illustrator. Hopefully one day I'll feel confident enough to say that I am, but I have a ton of fun doing it. And I feel like I'm improving with every book that I do. It's definitely a learning process for sure, but I'm learning new techniques and all different design type stuff all the time, every day. So it's been really fun. I've really enjoyed the illustrating aspect. It's exciting to me.
Yeah,
but it is a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. But
sure.
you and I are in some of the same Facebook groups for authors and illustrators, and I notice every now and then someone will post on there, how do you publish a book when you don't have the money for it? And I think what you have done is you kind of bypass that, and you've done it yourself. And I think that's a good lesson for those out there who may be facing that. Do it yourself. I know a lot of people may say, well, I'm not an artist. I don't want to get into that. And that's fine, but it is possible, you know? So I think, for anyone who just doesn't have the money or doesn't have the means, they should just get started, write a book, try illustrating it, see what you think, see what other people think. Just do it,
I think so too.
Yeah. So
there's so many tutorials too out there, don't
right.
you think? I mean, you can teach
Yeah.
yourself just about anything if you really, really set your mind to it and try. You might not be the most amazing artist, but another thing I think about too, to kind of pump myself up sometimes when I'm like, oh man, this is gorgeous. I don't know that I could create this type of illustrations. Is I look at some of my favorite kids books and I'm like, you know what? They're not like these just jaw-dropping illustrations. Like I read a lot of Sandra Boynton books to my kids and I love her illustrations, and some of the beauty in her illustrations is just like the simplicity and clean. I mean, the formatting and everything looks really nice with it too, so it all goes together well, but they're not these art exhibit illustrations, so
yeah.
I feel
and
like
I think that's fine.
doable.
There's so many books out there that are made from stock images, and I would totally say avoid that at all costs. But if you can create your own illustrations from scratch, I mean, kids are going to love it no matter what. So make it something that kids will enjoy, and the story just kind of supports or matches that. And yeah, I think it's great. So tell us about, you've got a lot of books out now. I think I counted 8, right? So what for this book, Extra Special Heart, what has kind of been the process or the journey after publishing it? What kind of response have you seen? You did mention several other organizations and things that have picked up the book and helped you kind of promote it. But what's kind of the response you've seen from your audience on this book?
Well, it's interesting because when I wrote Extra Special Heart, I kind of didn't think it was going to sell that great, just because it's a small little niche, and I thought, I don't know how many people will actually buy this, but it's been my bestseller, and I feel like it's because I'm really passionate about the topic, and I like to share it with people because I feel proud about how it helps families and kids. And so I think a big part of becoming an author is just getting your work to the readers that you think will enjoy your book. And I feel like another important part of being an author is the charity aspect. I think it's really nice when you can share your book with people, or when you can donate your books with people. I have another book, my Christmas book, I was able to donate. Now I don't know the exact number. I want to say it was 150 or 160 of them. I just did a GoFundMe, and same thing as kind of what I talked about earlier with Extra Special Heart. I just collected money to pay for just the cost, and I just didn't take any profit from it. Yeah. And they were given to numerous Ronald McDonald children's houses for Christmas. And so I feel like as an author, you're going to get back what you give. So if you're willing to give some of your stuff out there, get it out there for families, give it to a charity organization, donate it to different groups, whatever you're passionate about, whether it be like children's literacy or disability groups or whatever really, makes you feel good. If you put your stuff out and you give to charity, I always feel like you're going to get even more back. And that's why I feel like I've done so well with Extra Special Heart. I love giving it away.
Yeah.
I send it to a ton of different people because I just see kids going through surgeries. And sometimes I'll even have people that have donated books, and I'll just be able to go into a group with kids with heart defects, and I'll be able to say, whose child has a heart surgery coming up or just coming out of a heart surgery? I'd love to send you a book. I have this many copies. And I get numerous families that come forward. And even in just posting that, some people don't really need that charitable donation, but they still want to buy my book or even buy some to donate. So it's really cool because sometimes people like in the heart community have bought my book and said, I just bought 13 of them and sent them to be sent out in bravery bags or, a local heart charity foundation around us. So it's I think a lot of it's passion and giving back in some way to be able to become profitable, because it really will pay off if you're charitable, I feel like.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've heard from some of these families that have received these books as well, right? And just telling you how much it meant to them to have a book like this. So what would you tell someone who's considering writing and illustrate or possibly illustrating their own book?
I would tell them to go for it, because like me, I mean, this was just something I wrote down and didn't at the beginning have plans to publish, but I get emails and I get messages and I get voice messages and things like that every day with people that it's really been positive for. I had a family I donated a book to that son had a heart surgery and he just passed away, and it was just heartbreaking to see. And at the same time, the family wrote me this awesome thank you letter, and they sent me pictures of them reading my book when their child was about to pass away as an infant. And I just thought it was so special, to be a part of somebody's life like that. So I feel like for people that are considering writing a book, if it's important to you, it's likely going to be important to other people. So just go for it and do it, and try to get it out there to people that you think will enjoy it. And it's not going to hurt to try, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's easy to think, well, nobody is going to want my book. No one is going to want my story, but there are people out there who need to hear. They need to hear your story. So that's really encouraging. Yeah.
Well, and even like yours, Travis, like Finn, when he was little, a lot of his language was delayed. He had apraxia of speech, so we used sign language a ton with him growing up, and he communicated largely with that. And it's rare to find books like that. So sometimes those books are just so special because it's like, wow, we can really connect to this book as a family, and there's not a lot out there. And it's really cool, I think, to be able to hit like a little niche that you feel passionate about and share something like that with others. For sure.
Absolutely. Okay, Carli. So tell us what you're working on now. And because I know you have another book that's coming out next month, I believe, right?
Did I see don't that know. Right?
You don't know? Okay.
I'm gonna
you don't
really
have to give anything away.
No, I'll talk about it though. I don't have it. I'm working on editing it right now, and I'm really I'm working hard on my cover. So I have like all these cover options, and I really am. The illustrations, it's easier for me to write than illustrate. Illustrating's kind of new for me, and I am learning kind of a lot as I go along. And this next book I have coming out is I think the title's going to be Later Said Gator, and it's going to be all about a little alligator that procrastinates, and it's kind of going to be linked to ADHD and the fact that you get kind of hyper focused on stuff, and sometimes you miss the cleaning up part or miss what you're supposed to be doing. And it's just kind of about a little alligator that loves life, has a lot of fun, makes big messes, creates amazing things, but then kind of ends up in just big jumble of toys with a really, really messy room in the end. So that's kind of my next book and what it's about. It's a fun one, I think. I think everybody will enjoy it, I hope.
Yeah, I think so. And you've started something fairly new with Finn. So I want to give you a little chance to kind of explain what he's up to.
Yeah, so Finn is a really good reader. He loves books. That's always been a strength of his, but he does have some struggles with comprehension and relaying what he's read to people sometimes. So I wanted to come up with a fun way this summer to kind of encourage him to read a lot of books. And I thought, why not promote indie authors at the same time? You know, it's hard for indie authors sometimes to get their books out to people and kind of get that free promotion. And so I just have posted in some of the author groups and basically said, you know, I have my cute boy Finn is reading books and wants to review them on his YouTube channel. So let me know if you're interested. And he has had a lot of authors that have sent him books. I believe we have right around 35 different authors, and some of them have sent numerous books. And he reads and reviews them. And I told him, if you accept these books, the stipulation is going to be that you finish them. So you're not just going to get all these free books and not review them. You have to review them, because I think accountability is a super important lesson to learn. So he's being accountable and he's reviewing various books, and it's been super fun. It's been awesome to read all sorts of different books that I might not have found otherwise had we not been sent them, you know. So yeah, check out his channel. He would love followers. He just loves he thinks he's a YouTube star. So, every day he checks his YouTube. It's kind of funny. He has a lot of fun with it. It's been a good, encouraging way to promote him to read. I think we've read an indie author book almost every single day this summer. So it's been fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. So that's at Book Reviews by Finn on YouTube. So I encourage anyone watching this to go and subscribe and see Finn's reviews. He's just so adorable, and I love how he sort of promotes these books. It's great.
He's like, after he'll read a book and review it and say, after this, can I show him my room? I'm like, no, let's not. Should I take him outside and show him our garden? No, let's just keep it on the book review. I'll let you do your own thing. But he also, I was going to mention really quick too. So this week is actually his 6th year. It's called like a heart anniversary from when he had his last heart surgery. And so I am doing like an online event for him that he's going to be the host of. And I thought it would be fun. He's going to read Extra Special Heart himself. So he's excited about that. And I think we're going to have some fun giveaways, probably book giveaways, and maybe some other things too that he's going to draw names for. I haven't quite figured out exactly how the details for the giveaways will go. But if people are interested in that, I can share too, and they could win a book and they can hear Finn read Extra Special Heart. So
that
awesome. Will be exciting. Yeah.
How can someone follow you to kind of be watching for that?
So I am on Instagram at Carli Valentine Author. If you just, I will be posting on various social media channels. You can also find me on Facebook. I'm Carli Anna Valentine, or I think if you just search Carli Valentine Author on Facebook, I would pop up too. It's actually going to be held probably on Facebook in an event. And for CHD families or moms, I do have a CHD book group where I am allowing various disability authors to post about their book on Tuesdays. I like them to be mostly disability themed, or, you know, deal with something that benefits kids and families with CHDs. But that's a great group too. It's been super fun. So that's something they can join too if they want to find out more about disability books, CHD books, and they're a heart mom or heart parent or grandma or warrior. And I can leave that too. Maybe I'll write like a comment or something under the YouTube video where they can find these various links.
Yeah, that'll be great. Yeah. So if you'll leave a comment below, those who are watching can find that, or I can even put them in the description. So Before we go, I just wanted to let everyone know that if you're watching this next week, I will have Stacy C. Bauer on to talk about the Young Change Makers series that she is working on. I'm actually her designer, and I'm finishing up her last book, book number 7, and she just launched a Kickstarter for the last 2 books today. So it's going to be exciting to have Stacy on and talk about her amazing series that she has created. And so the link should be somewhere around on the screen if you're watching this on the replay, or you can find it down in the description now. So join me next week, next Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern time. Carli, it's been such a blessing to have you on and to hear your story and Finn's story. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast, and I look forward to hearing about Stacy's too. I love her books too. They're awesome.
Absolutely.
Oh.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you, Travis.
everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.